see if I can get you up here, Mark. Do-do-do. Come on. Do-do-do-do. Right. Okay. Let's see if I can get you up here, Mark. Right, so that should be with you in the chat and Skype, Mark, and let me know if you can get that.
Okay, clicking on it now. Let's see. Yep. Okay, I'm ready to hit pause. Okay, I hit pause, and I have.
So bear with me. Hiya folks who are just joining us tonight for our live Q&A with the legend that is Mark Vizcarra. So bear with me guys, as you know, if you're a regular here, it takes me a couple of minutes to get this out on social media. But yeah, Mark, what have you been up to since our last chat?
Just still doing post-production of Blood Path 2. That's going to be my next feature film. It's scheduled for a summer release. It's already on IMDb. It says coming soon. So if anyone's interested in seeing what that's about, it's just again, it's a sequel to my first film.
And for the folks who obviously maybe haven't watched the interviews, we did like the two-parter. Like, can you tell us a bit about your background and where we are today with you?
Oh, a little bit background. Okay, after a illustrious naval career, I went ahead and still enjoyed. It's kind of weird because once you finish up an incredible career like flying the world's best fighters, and I totally was blessed to do that. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And so the thing. I said, well, so what did I like the best? And so I started reflecting back on my time in the Navy and what I liked most about it in terms of, and I liked the teaching part. When I was flying the aggressor squadrons, and I became basically an adversary instructor, I really enjoyed that. So I said, okay, maybe I'll go into teaching. So, I felt like we need to continue the education of the next generation of warriors that are to come. So I went to high school and ran a AB Junior ROTC unit for 8 years, and that was a lot of fun. But then after that, I was like, okay, because I was going to lose my GI Bill, because the GI Bill is only given to you for so long after retirement. And I said, okay, and I definitely wanted to go into film school and do another career. So that's when I decided to go to LA Film School and get a degree in digital filmmaking and then start that career. So it's been kind of a crazy life.
It's definitely a crazy life, but like a great life. But as you can see on the side there, Mark, there's some questions coming in, so I'm going to let you loose and hopefully you enjoy.
Okay, I gotta put the glasses on. I'm getting so old here. Let's see. Oh, okay. The first one is Ben Sommer, which what aircraft did you prefer flying? I'll tell you what, I love flying all my airplanes. I mean, it depends on the mood of the day. If I went down and say, okay, I prefer this airplane, because each of them had some incredible benefits and some incredible characteristics and some flaws on each of them, and it depended on the mission that you're doing. So it's got kind of hard question to answer because I just love flying. The way I kind of joke about it is, man, if it's got a pointy nose, twin tails, and goes afterburner with an afterburner on it, you can't go wrong. But then that doesn't include the A-4, and I love actually flying the A-4 as well. So I just think any type of fighter is good enough for me. Let's see. Did you fire any Phoenix from the F-14 by hurrah? Yes, I did. Lexi, it's another one that I was blessed to have the opportunity to fire all the Foxes, the Fox 1, Fox 2, and Fox 3. And that one was, that was a little bit different because you realize that you're shooting $1 million missile. And so you want to make sure you don't mess that one up. But I had a great Rio. Goose, his call sign is Goose Sprague, and great, incredible Rio. We both went up there and just had a blast of shooting this $1 million missile. So yes, that was a lot of fun. Let's see. This is from Nelly Flicks. I know Nelly Flicks. Aardvark, 2-seat or single seat? That was when we were flying the Varks. Those were the F-14A, so it was a dual seat and great squadron. I love flying with the Varks. We're kind of an obnoxious group because we were the only ones that wore the orange flight suits because of the colors of the squadron, and we were pretty much obnoxious group, but loved the squadron. It was a lot of fun, a lot of spirit in that squadron. Let's see, Hudson Donald. Okay. Do you fly very often since retiring from the Navy? No, I don't fly at all, actually. And it's really weird because I get that question a lot. And it's like, well, why aren't you flying? And here's the thing on it is, once you've experienced flying these incredible airplanes that I did fly, if you're not doing that, it's just boring. It is absolutely boring just to get into an airplane and not drop bombs, pull G's, fight another aircraft. It's just boring. So and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go into film and make movies, because I was hoping that one of these films might make it and become a millionaire. And boy, the first thing I was going to do when I got $1 million was I was going to buy myself an airplane. And there's a couple I'd like to buy. I'd love to buy the A-4 because they're for sale right now. In fact, I saw one on eBay for now. It was completely stripped. It just had no engine, no avionics. So it's just the shell of the A4, but for 70 grand. So I'm like, whoa, I got it, But those are dreams. And the F5, I would love to fly the F5 because that's a neat airplane. Because then you got to just take a look at the cost of flying, and it's pretty expensive. So let me see if I go back here. I've got a lot of questions here. Top Gun. Yep, that was a lot of fun. They run you through the thing. Now, when I went to Top Gun, I went as an aggressor to get the aggressor instructor qual. So it was a lot of fun. They put you through a lot of training, but a lot of fun. Enjoyed my time flying with in the Top Gun class. Now, my brother, hopefully Mike's going to be interviewing my brother here real soon. He was actually a Top Gun instructor, and he has some great stories he can tell you. Actually, I think he was the Top Gun XO, so that'd be like Jester or whatever is in the movie. Anyway, he has some great stories. Let's see. Anthony asks, pure hypothetical, if you could fly any British jet, past or present, what would it be and why? Well, I tell you what, a buddy of mine in the Aardvarks, he Canuck, because his call sign, he's actually from Canada, and so we gave him call sign Canuck. Great guy. And when he left the Varks, he went on a RAF exchange tour and flew the Tornado. And he had some great things to say about the Tornado. It's very similar to the Tomcat. So I think, I picked the Tornado. Actually, the one I'd really like to fly, although it's done follow the jet, is one of my favorite airplanes of all time is the Spitfire. I mean, that's another airplane I would love to own one day because it's by far my favorite. So. Okay, so let's see. Byron Farrow. When the F-14A, A+B were all in the mix, did you tend to fly one model or mix, or how was that decided? The Navy decides everything. You work at the pleasure and the benefit of the Navy, and unfortunately for me, I did not get the benefit of flying the A+, the B, which, like I said, they initially came out as the A+, and they moved it on to the B model, and then of course the D came out. A lot of my buddies did get to fly all of them, and they said it was completely different, especially the D. The D was just a gem to fly. Unfortunately, I just flew the A's. In fact, I flew some old A's. In fact, it was really interesting. I was looking through my logbook and kind of preparing for this this Q&A, and I found out that I flew my logbook. I flew the 17th Tomcat that was ever built, that was delivered to the fleet. So I mean, it's like wow. And I actually do remember flying it because when you sometimes when you're going to do a mission, you have to wait for your wingman. He might be having some little problems getting out of the ramp and stuff. So you just kind of go to a holding area. And I sat in there and I started just looking at the cockpit, and I found the old production plate on there, and it had been painted over so many times I could barely even read it. So I was scratching it, trying to read it, and that's when I saw that the date on the when it was built, and I was like, oh my God, this thing is ancient. Because all it did was just worry me. It's like, was this thing gonna fall apart because it was so old? But no, I wish I would have flown the earlier, the later models rather. Did you ever? Oh, Ben Sommer in. Did you ever buzz the tower? The Never a field tower, but you'd always you'd buzz the carrier. You'd always ask to buzz the carrier. You'd save some gas up there, and you just request, call the boss, the air boss of the carrier, and say, hey, request flyby, and they'd always, because the sailors, they loved it, and so you get the speed of heat and get right down in the weeds and fly right over right by the deck, and you'd also do that for the small boys protecting the carrier as well. They loved it. So that's the answer to that one. Okay, 2ZZGE100. What would you say about the accuracy of the AUG-9 AIM-54? What was the most accurate missile on the F-14? AIM-9, AIM-7, AIM-54. Well, you can always count on the weapon of choice is, again, it depends on the battle space that you're fighting in. If it's going to be a BVR, yeah, you definitely want the Phoenix because you want to get that, that long spear out there. And if you're carrying multiple Phoenixes, they become like mini wingmen because, boy, you lock up at range, launch that baby, and then as soon as it goes active, pitbull, then you can go on and do some other stuff because that most likely is going to take it. And it had a pretty good kill ratio. I got a chance to talk. In fact, he's in one of my he's in my Tomcat movie. He was the first CO of Top Gun, and he was actually, and I don't even think I used this part of the interview that I filmed in the movie because I'm going to save it, and because there's another movie I'm planning on working on, and he was in the actual testing of the 6 Phoenixes shot simultaneously, where he tracked 6 targets and launched all 6 Phoenix. And he was on that mission. He's flying chase on that mission. So he has a great story to tell on that one. So they're all great missiles. I've used them all, and they're not, if they suck because you wouldn't want to use them, but I loved using it. Just depended on when you needed it, and you just fall to the one that you needed at that time, and you just switch it. With the HOTAS, it's really nice because you can just click it just with a thumb, flipping different between missiles and stuff, and so AIM-9, again, that's the workhorse of a dogfight. You're definitely gonna want to use that one, So, and again, the beauty about that one is launch and leave. You don't have to worry about the radar or anything, and losing tracks on it. It's got the, tell it, the missile literally rings in your ear and tells you, hey, he's locked on and his fangs are out. He's going to get the thing, and so when you launch it, you don't have to worry about it. It's going. So, let's see. Follow-on mission. Follow-on question. How did the AIM-54 Charlie do against maneuvering targets? Well, the problem with all this is, the biggest test of weapon systems is in war. And, when you look back at it, the Tomcat really didn't have that opportunity. I mean, peace was just breaking out all over the place. I mean, it started off as a Cold War warfare platform, but there's really no places to test it. Because you can test, we do have op evals of VX9, VX4. They do some great testing, and again, they're not going to give us a failed weapon system. So must have passed the test, but you really didn't get a chance to test out, exactly the details of how effective it is in combat, because that's really where that becomes the big task. So, yeah, unfortunately, we really didn't have well, now it sounds like I'm a big warmonger, but no, it just we didn't really get a chance to test out the combat effectiveness of the AIM-54. John Ellis, do you remember Captain John Young's thick glasses when he flew STS-1 in the Tomcat? No, don't recall that. Pukin George, yeah, enjoyed your interview. Question: What is that in your opinion? The Tomcat is so popular after 5 decades. Would you change anything if you could do it again? Bring up a good point, because I mean the Tom, I think, was retired in 2006, and I mean here's 2021, and still everyone just loves the Tomcat, and it's because it's so unique, and it just looks badass. I mean, it's a beautiful airplane. I will, people always ask me, like, which fighter would you prefer? It's like, I tell you what, it was like, it's always great to have dated and married a 10, which I did with my wife. She's incredibly gorgeous. And that's why I felt the Tomcat was. She was a 10. I mean, you looked at her and you just like, oh, she's beautiful. So I wouldn't change a word. I mean, I think again, I talked a little bit about in the previous episodes, was the TF-30 in the A. Yeah, that sucked. I mean, that really did. That's the only thing I'd change. It's like, why do they leave that piece of crap engine in it? They should have given us the GEs. And because all the guys that I flew with that went on to fly the Bs and Ds, they just said, oh man, now it's the way it's supposed to be. So. Let's see. Bill, do you think the U.S. NAB? I have no idea what you're asking there. Well, let me know a little bit clearer on that one. What do you mean by NAB? Let's see. I lost my spot here. Okay. Michael Allen, what was the hardest aircraft to fight against in both the F-14 and the F-18? And that is easily the F-16N, the 9G fighter. That was, it was a souped-up beast. And then, of course, you have all the fleet guys that are flying it, picked to go to an aggressor squadron, and they just, it's kind of interesting too, because here's the thing on that one. I had no problem fighting, and now again, I hope my Air Force brethren out there don't get pissed off at me, but I had no problem fighting an Air Force F-16. I used to do it all the time. In fact, I think they were called the SPADs out of NAS Dallas. No, I think they're out at NAS. Excuse me. At the time, it's Carswell Air Force Base. It was a unit at Carswell they're called the SPADs. And they'd always want to, mix it up. So they contact us, say, hey, you want to go do a 1v1? Yeah. So we got there. And, initially we were thinking, oh, it's going to be like a fighting an F-16N. And no, it's not. I mean, we'd actually gunned some of them things. And so it all depends on the model aircraft and who you're fighting. That's the big key, is who actually you're fighting. If you're a pure aggressor ACM god in the arena, you're gonna be hard to beat. In the Air Force, and that's the way that the F-16Ns were. I mean, these were fighter guys, and that's all they did. That was their meat and potatoes, was ACM. Air Force, the F-16 is a strike fighter for them. So they're good at what they do, but they also they do strikes and they do ACM, and so again, if you hone on specific skills, you're just going to get better and better at it. So let's see. You could fly commercial aggressor. Yes, I could. And actually, I do have a lot of buddies flying, but I just opted not to move on. I kind of want to do other things with my life. Like I said, I always like film, so I want to do some more filming. I mean, and I had a great time. But these guys, they're having a blast. But yeah, I wasn't really interested in doing that. Could the this is from Freako Puny, could the F-111B have made it with more development instead of the F-14? No way. It was not. It was. I had a buddy of mine, college buddy, who went and flew F-111s, and that is, it's a bomber. It's not a fighter. In fact, I've actually had the stories told by me by some higher admirals that were involved in the whole selection process between the F-111 and the F-14, and no, it was not a fighter. It was a bomber. So let's see, and then some apparently suggest that F-111 was not as bad as painted. Can I imagine F-111 in Top Gun or Final Countdown though? Yeah, because it was a bomber. I mean, it was a good bomber. I mean, but, it's a bomber. Let's see. Bill, do you think the U.S. is in the process of losing its naval, including airspeed, particular respect to China? No, I don't. We just been around too long. We define, we create our airplane, our training. I mean, they're always going to be a threat, but I don't think we have anything to worry about there. Okay, John Ellis, F5. My friend flies F5 sometimes. Yep, great weapons platform, especially for adversary training. It's a perfect simulation of a MiG-21. In fact, a good friend of mine is flying in the company right now that does that. Let's see. This is Freckle Puny. Do you respect the Iranians for keeping their F-14s airworthy after all this time in the absence of official U.S. support? Well, I guess. I mean, they're not getting. Yeah, they're not getting it, so they are making it happen. So yeah, I mean, I got to respect that. I don't, I still think they are a threat. But they are flying the F-14. They're keeping it flying, so more power to them. Just as long as they don't get in our way to become a threat to our country. Let's see, Anthony. No, I'm sorry. There's 2ZZGE100. Oh no, you're making comments to the other one. Okay, let me see. Anthony Fernibel, do you think the F-14 should have been further upgraded, or was it the right time to retire them when they did? Well, it's a money thing, and as much as I did not like seeing the F-14 retire, the thing was they were very, very expensive to maintain, and it's all based off of dollars and hours and what the capability of to the fleet, because you're servicing the fleet of the United States Navy, and they're going to want to go ahead and make sure they've got the biggest bang for the biggest buck. And so I think they had some big ideas, and the plan is actually very effective. There's still some issues with ranging because the big Hornet wings, now the Super Hornets and stuff, they were never able to meet the range of what the Tomcat provided, because the Tomcat was a very long range fleet defense fighter and actually strike fighter as well. I mean, that was proven in the Middle East. So, but it was getting its time. I mean, anything the carrier operations environment is very, very hard on any airframe that you have a fleet life expectancy, and these airplanes were getting, they're being ridden hard, put wet. So, it also becomes a safety margin thing. So yeah, I hate to see it go, but she had a good run, unless they were going to build some new ones. But again, the cost advantages, unless they did a redesign of one, and there were some big futuristic redesigns. I think there was like Tomcat 2000. There was. I remember one time at Taylor they had a big booth there and publicizing it, and we're like, oh wow, this would be pretty cool. I mean, that would have been neat. But other than that, it's always going to be money that drives everything. How much flying hours do you have? And I'm just going to round out about 2,500 hours, and it's a big mix between Tom Horn and A-4s, majority of that. Let's see. Joe John asks, where were you at Miramar when they shot the movie Top Gun? Not, believe it or not, that one was, I was in Cuba. I was flying A-4s as an aggressor when they were, no, I take that back. I was in Cuba when they released uh, Top Gun. Now, when they were filming it, I was getting my wings. I was going through flight training, and I'd heard that they were doing it, and you know, so when it was released, yeah, I was like, you know, I saw the previews, it looked pretty cool. So, um, let's see, where, okay, John Paul Bacon, what do you think about the F-35B and F-35C? Well, if it's anything like the F-22, which I actually got to get in the trainer of the F-22 when I was still active duty. They went to, we had a big, this is when I was on Admiral staff, we had a big meeting, and we went to see them being actually assembled, got a full top secret clearance brief on it, and then we actually got in the simulator. And I was floored by it. I mean, again, technology just it's exponential, and all I had reference to was flying the Tom, the Hornet, and even in the I never had that problem in the Tom because again, multi crew, so you have two mines in there going, and again, it's more 60s technology. But the Hornet, there were times where I was overloaded. You actually have sensory overload. You have so much energy coming all in the HUD, by the way. I mean, you really rarely even look down here. I mean, yeah, I do for the radar, but for the most part, you're getting your data through the HUD. And sometimes you would literally get overloaded, and you'd find that out. You would find it out when you're flying that you just you get the mission completed. But then when you come back, and you put your tapes in, and you go into tax. Tax is it's like they showed it in Top Gun. When you go in the theater and everything's computerized onto the screen, you get to see exactly how you're digitally how the engagement went. It's multi-engagement, so you actually get to see it again, relit in front of you. And that's when you pick up, it's like going, oh my God, how did I miss that? How did I miss that? And then you look on your HUD tapes, and it's clearly right there. You're not seeing it. So what ends up happening, and it's called it's information overload. Your mind starts like dissecting things, and like going, okay, you need to concentrate more on this, and this one just it's almost like becomes invisible to you. So that's my only concern was, man, I mean, with the F-35, when I saw the F-22, I'm like going, man, could I even do this? Because there's so much more information. Now, the beauty about what I saw in the F-22, and I'm sure it's in the F-35 as well, is they're actually color coding things. Now, before it was always just monochrome. I mean, you look down there, just one color. And now you can see the battle space in threat colors and stuff. And that helps because, when you're just seeing a lot of stuff, now you got to, discern, okay, what is what and stuff. So, but no, I think those are going to be some great weapon platforms to use. Paul W. asks, what was your commissioning source? AOCS, yes, class 1684, marching in Chow. Great time. There's still buddies with a lot of guys that were in my class. John Ellis, I thought one of the 6 drones failed. I believe it did. It did. But I believe all 6 missiles were shot, if I'm not mistaken. Another Tomcat movie. I am getting a lot of pressure for that, and so I'm thinking about it. But I tell you, there's so many other projects right now that I'm actually already involved in. So if anything, it's going to be way down the way. There are a lot of friends that I did not get to interview. They have some incredible stories. I'm trying to find other ways to do this as well. I mean, so I'm looking into it. But I tell you what, my Speed Angels Productions company, it keeps me really, really busy, and I got a lot of projects on with that one right now. So let's see, Brian Farrow, what was it like to experience roll rate of A-4? Man, that's you hit the nail on that one. That's the beauty of the A-4. The roll rate, the 720 degree roll rate of that thing was awesome. I mean, it was, and that's why literally when I was flying the A-4 against the fleet, and I went up against them all. I went up against let's see, F-4s, F-14s, F-18s, A-7s, all in the little old scooter A-4. But with that roll rate, I tell you, you could, because what the F-14 guys would always do is you come in at the merge, they'd always try taking it into a two-circle fight for that weapon separation so they could play their weapons. Because they have the radars, they can go ahead, slip, boom, and tag you before you're in a missile envelope. So what I would always do is my little trick I would do was I come into the merge. As you're going, I'd look like we're doing a two-circle fight. But the roll rate was so quick. You could just that 720 degrees. I could just roll around and get them right into the which we call the phone booth, and it's just like having a knife fight in the phone booth, and you always just jam the weapon systems, and then get into a really good dogfight, and then whoever makes the best moves or makes the mistakes is going to be the winner. So that was a great time. Let's see. Joe MD 777. Were your VFC-12 F-18A specifically lightened for the adversary role by having deleted equipment, or did they perform better in ACM only because they were very light A models? There was nothing really done other than the paint job for it. But they're just old block A4s, so they didn't have all the the bells and whistles of the C models. So that's why you could literally super cruise up at altitude, and there are great adversary platforms to give our clients, our fleet clients, because we want to show them a supersonic threat up at altitude, but we didn't want to use all the gas. Because when you're a blower, you burn a lot of gas, and so we'd literally be able to give them some supersonic threat training just in the military, and usually we go through 2 missions of adversary. They bring us up a division of F-14s. We give them a couple of presentations, and then they move on, and some engagements as well. And then they bring in a whole other one, and we still have enough gas to give a whole other a new division, a presentation. So that's what it was. And I just found out too that now I hadn't confirmed this, but I'm hearing that the Mayo Squadron VFC-12 is now going to get the Super Hornets as well. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. 2ZZG100. If you were being sent into real combat, ROE is nose hold bar. BRW for quarter dogfight. Anything is fair game. If Navy asked you to pick your fighter, F-18, F-14, SD, or something else. No one wants to die. So. But you know what? We still follow the rules, and no kidding. If they were saying, even when I was flying on cruise on the Tomcat during the Cold War, that's the first question we'd always say weapon status, and if they didn't say red and free, means like I wasn't going to pull that trigger because I'm not going to. You don't know the whole picture. That's the admirals do. So. That's that's kind of a hard question to ask because you definitely don't want to die, but until I'm put in that scenario, I'd be following orders most likely. And as far as the Hornet F-14, again on that one, it depends on the battle space that we're in, the rules of engagement as well as all going to define on which one I would want to be in. Again, sometimes you do want self-preservation. You want to keep your life firmly moving forward. That second set of eyeballs is huge. It really is because it's always going to be the person that you don't see that's going to kill you. So I kind of probably lean to Tom just because of the weapon system and an extra set of eyes. So let's see. YouTuber, watch Tomcat's great movie. Thank you. Were you? Oh shoot, I lost it. Where'd it go? shoot. Wait, the thing moved and I lost. Where did it go? Okay. Were you and your brother the only siblings crewed flight? No, there were actually a couple guys that were in the Navy that were Tomcat, both Tomcat guys. So in fact, we actually tried to get them in the movie, and they never responded to me. It's like, oh, okay, I guess they don't want to be in the movie. So anyway, let's see. Iceman 95, favorite flying moment in the F-14 and the F-18. Favorite flying moment in the I tell you, you know what? It's probably it's gonna sound weird, but I just enjoy. I got the opportunity and the honor to fly with my brother in both the Tomcat and the Hornet, and it was a blast. I mean, geez, you know, the Tomcat was across country, so we had the whole weekend. We just had a blast flying. And then the Hornet, it was when his squadron, he was operations officers of God, I think it was the Red Rippers, and they're coming through SBARP, which is Strike Fighter Readiness Program, and we give them, we bring them out there with multiple different types of engagement, 1v1s, 2v1s, 2v2s. 4B unknowns, everything. We give them the whole smorgasbord of threat. And so I contacted my boss and said, hey, we're going through, the Red Rippers are coming through. They're doing a great job. I really would like to take their operations officer up there to show them how good they're doing. And he goes, that's a great idea, like that. And then I realized, like, man, I am lying to my CAG. And I'm going to, this thing comes out, I'm going to be like, it's not gonna come out well. So I finally said, okay, CAG, I got to be honest with you. He's my brother. And he goes, all right. You're clear to go fly. Just don't do anything stupid. And I said, okay. And then so we both went up there, and it was a big multi-engagement. And the funny thing about it was, here's a reel, and no kidding, I took it off. And as soon as I took it off and put the wheels up, I said, psh, I put my hands up and said, your airplane, and he flew the whole mission. And he did incredible. So it was, that's a big memory of my career I enjoyed. So, and like I said, I hope he can tell you some more stories when he gets his episode here coming up. Let's see. God, guys, I have a lot of questions here. What was your favorite kill in F-14 against which fighter in these stores? Boy, there's so many of those. That's a interesting question. Again, it's going to sound like I'm picking on my Air Force brother, but I love fighting the Air Force because there's a camaraderie, but there was a competition between us both. The Air Force thinks we're a bunch of knuckleheads, and we think they're a bunch of knuckleheads, and we know how to do it better. And we love each other. We respect each other, but we love to give each other a lot of shit, and we love to go mix it up. So, I had my time just having a blast, gunning some Eagles and gunning some 16s. So, those are always a lot of fun, especially when you finish the engagement and you gun them, you come back, and now you got this. You can show off your HUD footage of an Eagle or a Viper in the Pipper, and I guarantee you, there's some that the Air Force guys have their footage of us as well. So it's all good. And in fact, one of my best friends is an Air Force guy. In fact, I never did get a chance to fight him, but I did fight one of the squadrons that, and it was a different fight altogether. Get this. They contacted, this is when I was flying the Hornet aggressors out of Oceana with VFC-12. And we were kind of busy, but this guy from an A-10 squadron up at Langley and goes, hey, we would sure like some air combat training. Is there any way you could fit us in? And I go, well, what are you talking about? I mean, is he talking about exercise? He says, no, because we're all busy. He goes, no, it's just me. I want to do a 1v1 against you guys. So I'm like going, and all I could think of was my buddy flying A-10s, and I'm like going, okay, yeah, come on, meet me. And I said, meet me in the range at this time, I'll be there. So I went up there, and here I'm fighting an A-10, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be really easy, and it's different because the A-10, that thing can turn on a dime. I mean, it's like, and in a dogfight, nose position is everything. It is. And so we did, did this again, went to the merge, and I'm thinking I'm going to just have this guy for lunch. All of a sudden I turn around and I'm seeing this nose just like, he's coming on really quick. I went, holy crap. So I just went straight in the vertical. And of course, he didn't have the energy to take it up, and then then it went that way. But it was a shocker for me because I had never fought an A-10, so that was a lot of fun. Let's see. What did the F-14 community think when the MiG-29 appeared? That was that got our attention because we saw all the video of in the threat. We got the threat assessments because we get briefs on threat aircraft, threat tactics and pilots, and we knew that was going to be a threat, especially with their Archer missiles, especially when they were able to do the put onto their helmet guided sidewinders, and I should say sidewinders, their IR missiles. So yeah, that got to be a threat because they kind of beat us to that. I mean, we were developing ours, but I think they got theirs first. What are your favorite rock bands? Oh man. Oh, I love Foo Fighters. Grew up with the Beatles. I got, in fact, there's little Beatle albums up there on that side. I have both posted. I thought they were just musical geniuses. I love them. I love my son's band, Silent Vice. I can't wait for the new album to come out. It's he keeps on showing me. It hasn't been released yet, but when he comes out of the studio, he'll have some tracks and play it for him. I'm like, oh man, my God, it's gonna be good. So yeah, I love music. I'm constantly have my earplugs in, listening to music. Okay, let's see. This is from Bill. Will drones replace fighter pilots? I don't think so. Although it is a good point because what becomes the limiting factor with pilots is the human. We're getting to a point now where these airplanes are becoming more than a human can handle. They're going to get G-lock. There's so much information that can be done through AI and everything. So I don't know if that time will ever come. Because I think you still have to have some type of human element involved to make those choices. We don't want this thing to go to like Terminator type stuff, where they, So I don't know. It's a good question because the drones are getting pretty sophisticated. So glad I had my time. Let's see. Just a pair of legs. I know this is a fighter pilot question, but I'm interested in doing photography in Navy, Air Force. Do you know how that worked? And did you work with any photographers? No, I don't know how it works. I do know that we have to go, when I try to work on a film project with the Navy, I've got to go through CHINFO, which stands for, just Google it, CHINFO. And they're the ones that authorize you to the base to film, to photograph stuff. So I bet there's a contact point. You can contact them, and that's how my best advice is CHINFO. It's CHINO. Just all caps. Just type it in Google. You'll be able to find it. Let's see. Okay, I'm a bass player. Yeah. Where did you get the bass? Tomcat bass. It's awesome. Thanks. What I did was when I was with the Flying the Aggressors out of Oceana, VSC 12, I had the time of life. And when I finished up, they usually give the outgoing officer in charge a gift. And you know what? I just had the time of life. I wanted to give them a gift because it didn't get much better than this. What I was doing for a living. So I built them a VFC 12 Hornet guitar, kind of just like that, except it's the paint scheme of the VFC 12, and framed it. And it's so funny because in the frame, it's a beautiful glass frame, and it should still be there at VFC 12. Hopefully it's still there because I left VFC 12 in 2000, I think. Yeah, 2000. And I even put quotes up there. And one quote was from David Lee Roth from Van Halen, and one quote was from one of the High Time Aces. And I can't remember what the quotes were, but they're really neat quotes. And so I built that, and when I built it, I didn't think it was going to come out that good, but it really did. I was like, oh my God, I got to build one for myself. So, since I'm a bass player, and I said, I'll just build myself a Tomcat one, and I did. And so I got that one, and I built, God, I think like 3 or 4 guitars. I've built two Hornet guitars, one a Super Hornet guitar. Did that for my brother because when he took over command of one of the first Super Hornet squadrons, his squadron heard I made guitars and contacted me saying, we want to give a guitar to give to your brother. Will you, build a guitar? I said, okay, well, I'm glad you told me far enough in advance. I'll get started on it. How much do you want to spend on this thing? And basically, I didn't even make any money. I just used all the money they gave me and gave them the best top of the line neck, all the stuff that makes a good guitar great. And then he got that one. So hopefully, when he does his episode, maybe does his interview, he can bring the guitar out and show it to you. I think I might got a picture on it someplace. If I can find it, I can post it somewhere. But anyway, that's where that came from. Let's see. What are your thoughts? This is from Tire Chaser Houston. What are your thoughts on drones as wingmen? If they're good, I mean, a wingman's only as good as you got. I mean, it's just like, either a good wingman or a bad wingman. I've had both. And so now you're using a drone. You're kind of, you're using, technology. Hope it's going to work for you, but you lose that human element. So I don't know. I think it might work. Everything I'm hearing, that is going to be the future of the F-35, and I've heard that's what they're doing. That's why they built that whole weapon system around AI and the helmet, everything, that one, and that they're just going to augment it with drones, and it's going to be a killer machine. So I think it'll work. This is from Brian Farrow. Did you enjoy your non-flying roles in the Navy, or did you see them as a necessary evil? Necessary evil. Yeah. Well, the thing was, I avoid them like the plague. When I was a junior officer and even a mid officer, and then even when in commander, I mean, I avoided them like the plague. I mean, I remember one time when I was running the VFC 12, I get a call from my boss, and he kind of chooses me a new one. He goes, hey, Viz, I just saw that you had not been to the following schools, because there's when you take a leadership role in a squadron, you got to go to these schools to get qualified in certain things. One was a legal school, one was a safety school, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to give any time in the cockpit. I really didn't, and I just kind of like put them aside. And it caught up with me, because next thing you know, I'm getting my boss cheering me a new one. He goes. And I used the great excuse, and it was a pretty good excuse, because I said, well, CAG, we're right in the middle of all these S4 ups and stuff. I just didn't have the time. And he goes, well, you got to do at least one of them. And I said, all right. So then when I had to go to postgraduate school in Monterey for the, and my only question was, okay, which is the shortest one? And the shortest one was the safety one. So I'll go do it. And so I went there and did it quick, but. They do want you to go to war college and the whole process, the career process. They do love you when you go on these staff tours. In fact, they wanted, when they said, hey, we want you to go to CAG staff, I fought that one too. I wanted to stay in the squadron. That's the bread and the potatoes of the thing. And I'm thinking, man, when you go on a staff, you got a lot of paperwork. You got to do a lot of other stuff. Now, I'm glad that it worked out that way, because I would not have had the experience I had without going to CAG staff, because that's when I got dual qualified and was flying both, 2 weapon systems at the same time, the Tomcat and the Hornet, and that was just a miracle to me. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe it doesn't get any better than that one. So it's just funny how things worked out. Let's see. Being Biggles 1010, in your opinion, do you think the Navy gained anything by replacing the F-14 with a legacy Hornet? Gain anything? Uh, it gained. I will tell you. Yeah. Here's what they did gain. They gained by the idea is actually very effective. Because at one time when I got into the fleet, it was a smorgasbord of weapon platforms. I mean, you had A3s, you had S3s, you had A6s, A7s, F-14s, F-18s. It's just a smorgasbord of weapon systems. Well, think about that. They're all made by different companies. They've got different parts, everything. So from a logistics and efficiency, it's not very wise to do that. And by going to the Hornet and making it pretty much an all Hornet air wing, with the exception of the E2 and then the Helos, that didn't make it very efficient and effective. And that's what you really need, because there's not a lot of money. I mean, the DoD only gets a certain amount of money, and you want the biggest bang for the biggest buck. So that's the one gain I believe that they did get. As a child, what was your favorite aircraft? He was, and this is Anthony, his was a Vulcan. Vulcan's a beautiful airplane. One thing I do is I love British airplanes. They do make some incredible looking, beautiful airplanes. Spitfire. Spitfire is my favorite. In fact, everyone thinks it should be the P-51, because I would get in debates with people like, "Hey, what's your favorite World War II fighter?" And I'd go, "Oh, Spitfire." And they go, it's not the P-51. I'm like, what the P-51 did? Spitfire didn't have the legs. And they go on, and we get in this big old debate. And I said, Spitfire. In one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you guys seen this movie. I mean, I don't know how. I'm an old guy. I'm 61 years old, so I've been around on this planet for a while. But in 1968, the Battle of Britain came out, the movie. And I tell you what, that movie is kick ass. They don't make movies like that anymore. In fact, when what was that other movie that came out? Dunkirk, that came out a couple of years ago. I was all psyched because I saw some previews to it. I'm like, oh, perfect, and I thought for sure it would be kind of like another Battle of Britain. It ain't. It was, they did have some Spitfires in it. They had a couple of Hankels. But when you compare that movie made by one of the most renowned directors today, and you compare it to a 1968 film, not even close. Not even close. So anyway, that's why I feel about that one. Ivan I'm just gonna say Ivan M. I don't want to mess up your name. So hi, what's the minimum range on the fire to be considered decent range? Did Tomcat have it? Oh man, Tomcat had it in spades. That thing had a long range. Don't ask me, because it's been 25 years since I flew it, but it had range, and you learn to manage that fuel, because fuel is it becomes one of the most important things when you're flying off doing carrier operations, and you're doing blue water. The only place you're going to come back to is that little postage stamp in the middle of the ocean. So that's one thing you definitely keep a close look on is fuel. And we have these ladders. We have fuel ladders on our kneeboard cards. And if you got any below that thing, because the last thing you want to do is coming aboard the carrier is during the day it's fine, but coming aboard a carrier at night is always stressful, because I mean it ups the ante a lot. It really does. And if someone doesn't say that, they're lying to you. They're just they're not being honest, because it does. That heart rate is going pretty good when you're coming down the chute at night. Throw in some weather, which I've had, it goes even higher. Throwing blue water ops, it goes even higher. And so fuel is critical in carrier operations. You really, man, that's when you trust that fuel gauge, and you trust everyone around. You trust your backseater to make sure to keep you honest, because you don't want to ever go below the fuel ladder, because it's going to get a little hairy. The more stress makes it even harder. So let's see here. Okay, 2ZZGE100. How did your dogfight go in F-14A versus the F-15? We know the Pratt 2 has upper hand on. Yep, they did. Yes, they did. And what did you say you had to do to get a kill on the Eagle? I'll tell you that's the thing is I do remember fighting the Eagles in the aardvarks, and this is in the A. So the thing about the Eagle though is it's a better fighter because thrust to weight is everything. You bleed. You just bleed in the tom. And so the thing on that one was just management, engagement management, trying to maintain your weapon separation. You really want to. If I'm going against Eagles in F-14A, my plan was I'm doing BVR, just maintain BVR because at that point AMRAAM hadn't come out yet, and they were the Eagles. So funny because when they came down for the exercise, they were deathly afraid of the Phoenix because that launch and leave capability. They were just they were paranoid about it. In fact, that's all they talked about. They just wanted answer every one of their questions in the big brief that we had before the exercise started. They want to know everything about the Phoenix and stuff. But no, I mean the Eagle's a great airplane. I mean, I would love to fly the Eagle. The fact that it's still going today. I mean, it's a little bit older, not much older than the Tom, and it's still going. So the best thing to do on that one to fight it. It's I don't mind fighting in a Hornet because again, it's the weight ratio. That's what defines it. Nose position is everything in a fight. So let's see, 99.9 Razor. High mark was the Tomcat HUD of any use when landing on the boat, especially compared to the Hornet. Maybe talk a bit about case one recovery difference between the two. Okay, let me tell you about the Tomcat Hornet. It sucks. It's absolutely worthless, and it got so bad on my cruises in the Tomcat A. Coming aboard the day and at night I just barely tweak it, but at day I turned the HUD off. It was just got in the way. I wanted to see the boat. I wanted to see the lineup. I wanted to see the meatball, meatball lineup, angle attack, meatball lineup, angle attack. You just had to have it all, and the HUD just was not. It did not have the HUD of the Hornet. The Hornet, that thing it was a gem. I mean, that thing had everything on it. I mean, literally, I didn't have the VSI, the velocity indicator, because you want to know your descent. You want to ride around 750 degrees descent rate coming in aboard when on glide path coming in to the carrier. And you needed that. That's what the Rio would tell me. The Rio would be, and he didn't have a VSI in the back of his cockpit. He would have to be leaning over, looking through the back seat, and he'd see my VSI indicator, and he'd be reading them off to me. Because again, you don't want to take your eyes off the prize. The prize is to get this plane, this beast, on the deck of the carrier the first time. You don't want to bolter because you don't know, again, you start boltering, it starts making things a lot worse. The stress level goes up and, just like, no, you always want to come aboard first time, first shot every time. So, but then you go to the HUD, man, the HUD, it's on, the Hornet, it's on the HUD. You got the VSI, you got the velocity vector, which we call spermy. You put spermy on the crotch of the deck. Those guys, I mean, here's the best way I can explain it, because it's a perfect way of showing you the difference between the Tom coming aboard and the Hornet coming aboard. And for those that are not familiar with naval aviation, U.S. naval aviation, is every grade is landed. You are debriefed on every trap aboard the carrier. You get back. You're doing your debrief. Next, the group of LSOs, they come walking in the red room, and they're going to give you a detailed brief and a grade. And by the way, your grade is made public. Everyone knows how you are as a carrier pilot. I mean, and you do not want to see any yellow marks or any God forbid any red marks, because what they are, they're like these little decals, and the decals are circles, and they're by color. Red color is a wave off, or they that's not good, a cut. They The yellow is the yellow's a fair. I take it back. There's an orange one in it too. I'm trying to think what the orange one is. Just you didn't want red, orange, or yellow. Yellow, okay, it's a fair pass. Means like, okay, you got a board. It's not great. All right, now you wanted a green. You wanted the greenies, man. I mean, that's what you wanted, and that's based off. It's all based off of grades too. You got a green, give you 4.0. Fair would be a 3.0. No, God, okay would be, God, it's been so dang long since I did. It's like I said, my last deployment was in '91. So it's been a long time. But bottom line is they give you grades on these things, and you have a GPA, and then you actually end you're graded through the entire cruise, and then at the end you got you're competing for the top 10 carrier pilots in the whole air wing. Well, it got to the point where I just kind of got tired of I'd be coming aboard, and again, my LSOs is not a slam on my LSOs. I love my LSOs, but we had a disagreement that we'd always had, because I mean, again, what I'm seeing from the cockpit of the Tomcat coming aboard is I'm seeing the ball didn't even move, and then I'm trapped aboard, and it could be a 2 or 3 wire. I'm like going, okay, it's got to be okay. It's got to be an okay pass, means top pass, green pass. And next thing it goes, okay, you're high, you're high at the start, and low in the middle, fair 2, and they give me a 2-point fair, and so I'm like, oh, man, what the hell? So, so it kind of got old, and because I was not the best carrier pilot. I mean, I didn't scare any of my Rios. But you know what? I was not, I wasn't an okay kind of guy. I didn't get the okays like a lot of my buddies did. And so when it got down to it was, next thing you know, the LSOs would come in, they started giving brief, and I just started ignoring them. And they took offense to that. And like, hey, now you got to, I go, well, what's the point? It didn't matter. The ball freaking didn't move. I'm just getting an okay 2, 3. Did I scare you guys? And so I've kind of gotten this argument with them, and they go, well, it's subjective, and blah blah blah. I'm like going, that's bull crap. I said, I go in that Hornet red room, and I'll go look at their greenie board. It's called the greenie board. And I said, I will take the Nugget Hornet driver, and I bet his grade is higher than our CO, who's 1,000 traps. And guess he goes, well. And sure enough, it was. There you go. It says it all. So how does a Nugget Hornet guy, first cruise, beat out 1,000 trap CO in a Tomcat? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So anyway, but again, I love my LSOs, because they got me aboard some nights that I went, oh, thank God for LSOs. So anyway, got anything, Mike?
Yeah. So Mark, can we get maybe 15 minutes more with you? Are you happy with that?
Sure, 15 minutes, and then because I got another meeting coming up here. But 15 minutes. You just keep me honest, because me, I start talking about flying, and I'm off to the races. So
yeah, so we got some great questions. So
okay. Let's see here. Where do I leave off? Okay, it's sticking with the MiG-21, which reported came closest to the intercepting the 30. Could the F-14 have made a fair first of intercepting a Blackbird? Most likely not. The speed is life, and when you're going 3 times the speed of sound. I never, they say the Tomcat's 2.4, and I never reached 2.4. I mean, of course, I've flown the A's. Now I know my brother, he went over 2. I don't know how high he got. I think the highest I got was 1.7. And I tell you, it gets real uncomfortable too when you get that fast, because all it takes is one thing wrong, and you just literally explode on the thing, and you're like going, is there really a need for this? Because I'm not in war. I had no problem risking my life when in war and it's like that one, but just to go, it's like you do. I was like, yeah, it's stupid. Now I actually had to do a lot because I was a post-maintenance check flight pilot in the aardvarks, and then actually in the hunters as well. So anytime they take out an engine in the Tomcat and repair the engine, you got to take it up for a post-maintenance check flight, and you have to take it to above 1.5 Mach. So I mean, I went up there lots, but that makes it even worse because you're like going, well, shit, okay. Because again, the asymmetrical thrust you have in the Tom, because the Tom's engines were really separated by extreme length or width rather. And the problem is if you're going 1.5, 6, 7, and suddenly you lose an engine, that could really make something really, really scary. So to answer your question, no, the 71 you'd never be able to do an intercept to get that. Guerrillas were pilots in jets wearing gorilla masks. Idea and who's going to report it? Oh man, we got so many stories. Tomcat guys are notorious. If you take a look at, there's so many videos out there of guys doing some crazy, crazy stuff. It's all not good too. I mean, because there are a lot. It's funny at the time, but it's also stupid things happen too. I had I know, I'm not I'll just keep everything quiet on this one, but I know some guys were screwing around and they're both dead now. And actually, we ended up burying one of the guys on cruise because his parents wanted his parents came to the squadron and said because he was cremated, so they gave the squadron the urns and said, hey, he loved flying, he loved the squadron. We think it'd be best to have him buried in the air. His ashes scattered in the air. So we're like, okay. So we thought about it. And we said, okay, we'll do it. And we took him on cruise. So we took, loaded him up, went on cruise, and we put him on station when we were in the Gulf. And what we ended up doing was we took the ashes, and we figured if we were fast enough, and we put all the ashes in a wrap it all up in a like a styrofoam, not styrofoam, what are those plastic things. We'd wrap it all up in there where literally all it's got to be is just release. It's just like and go out, and we put it on the speed brake underneath the speed brake, and then squad, I can't remember who did it, but took it up, and that's how he was buried. And we marked the lat long. Notify his parents is hey, he was buried on this date at this lat long. But the reason I'm telling the story is because there's no need for him to die. They were just doing buffoonery, stupid stuff, which is funny at the time. But you start thinking about like, why did you guys do it? Because these guys, what they did was they're on a cross country in a section, and they thought it'd be funny. They're up at altitude, 35,000 feet, and they basically took off their helmets and put on their piss cutters, which we call our garrison cover, and they pulled up to the lead pilot, and they're like giving salutes, and it's funny at the time, and the lead pilot said, "Hey guys, funny, put your oxygen mask on." Well, guess what? It's too late. They had got hypoxia and went into the ground. So it's sad. That's the part where. Yeah, we're funny guys, but sometimes we just do some stupid stuff that really should not do. So let's see here what we got. Let's see. Did you ever get 5 excellent landing grades? Let's see. I don't think I ever got 5 in a row. I got maybe like 3 in a row, maybe. But it'd always be a fair. It's like maybe every once in a while a no grade, but those were probably just like I just want to get bored, So, but no, like I said, I was like I said, I didn't scare any Rios. You have a good reputation when Rios want to fly with you, and I never had a Rio that didn't want to fly with me, because those are they'll pick the pilots they don't want to fly with because they're unsafe and they don't they did not feel safe coming aboard the carrier, and I don't think I did because no one ever said, hey, you're unsafe, I don't want to fly with you. So What do you, Narcos Marco? What do you think about DCS? That's cool. I mean, it looks great. I mean, I'd say more power to it. Break them out and play with it. It's awesome. I don't do it, but it looks cool. Let's see. Josh Bayless. When you joined the Navy, did you want to fly Jolly Rogers? Yes, I did. Just because it's funny. I think I put that in my movie. That was my scene in the movie. Was I was talking about how I saw Final Countdown, and when I saw Jolly Rogers Tomcats on the Nimitz, I was like, oh my God, this is so badass. And yeah, I really did want to fly it, but they were East Coast Squadron. Later on, it's like, oh no, I want to go Miramar. Miramar's where it's at, San Diego and stuff. So that's why I went with the Barks in the San Diego. Okay, Puking George, did you ever fight with fighters of my country, Belgium? No, unfortunately, I didn't. I would love to. I was being on the West Coast. I did most of my stuff on Westpac, so I never got to do any Europe stuff. So fortunately, I didn't get that opportunity. GJ, would you say there was significant difference in culture and attitude between Tomcat and Hornet guys? Heard there was some healthy competition between the two. Yeah. I mean, well, see, the Hornet guys, they mostly, they're all single seat, and that's their mentality. They are single seat guys. I get it. I really do, because the problem is I do like having that Rio back there, because I like that second set of eyes, like the second brain working everything I got. But here's the problem with that one. There's also an added responsibility. It's like going, man, because I don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care, but if I kill myself, I'm killing myself. If we crash this jet and he dies, I've just taken a father, a husband, and it always did bug me. It just did, because I'm like going, God, it just made me, I think, a little bit more cautious. And I really would not push the envelope as much as I would, because I tell you, I did push the envelope a lot when the Hornet, and then you got that story when I take it down to where I'm barely seeing, I would have never done that in the Tomcat with a guide back there. But no, that's that. Let's see. There's a lot of news about UFOs, late reported 60 Minutes. Have you ever? No, I have not. I will tell you, though, it's something else. Is you would not believe what you see when you're in the middle of the Pacific at night on a night mission. I mean, the sky is the most incredible view you're see, and it's just filled with shooting stars. I mean, it's just, you just don't see them here when you're anytime close to a city and all the lights. But in the middle of the ocean, it's black, and I tell you, it's an incredible view. But I never saw any UFO, so love to. That'd be pretty cool. Anthony for a new epic QA mark. Thank you for much doing this. Arrange this. Okay, I see. You're welcome. That's a lot of fun. Let me see. I'll go to some of these guys I haven't seen. Hey Mark, it's Daniel McCree. What is the overspeed limit on the gear flap for the F-14B? I don't know. I never flew it. I do know it's it's 200 for the gear. No, it's 250. I'm talking about the tires. It's 200 to land, but gear it's 250. But I don't know what it was for the B, because I never flew it. John Ellis, one of my friends almost punched out the Hornet on the ramp, and the pilot almost hit ramp. Anyone got FNAB, grounded him? Anyone screw up a landing, get FNAB? Oh yeah, FNABs happen a lot. I should say a lot, but I just know I was actually on a couple of FNABs. I was on the FNAB board for it. Usually something happens, usually a mishap, problems getting aboard, buffoonery in the air. Anyway, they form a board, and it's made up of your peer group. So it's usually a senior ranking officer will command it, but then it's usually lieutenants. And yeah, I was actually on several FNAB boards. So, did you ever have a chance to go against Japanese pilots in training? No, I did not. We flew a Japanese military general. admiral. I think he came out. He came aboard the back seat of a Tomcat. I remember King Kong. He flew him. He was our operations officer. Great guy. And he flew him in the back seat. And I think it was, if I recall, it was a really bad weather too. So I mean, that poor guy must have been scared crap was coming aboard the carrier area, because carriers landings during the day are fun, but man, you throw any element into it, weather, pitching deck, aircraft problems, it gets really interesting real quick. So.
Right,
Is that it there,
Mark.
Mac?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to ask you one question.
Oh yeah.
So, everyone knows I like the Tornado F3. Who do you think would come out on top, Tomcat or F3?
Who? Well, I tell you what, it would. You know what it would be. On that one, it would be who's flying it. That's what it'd be. I guarantee.
Who's flying it? Yeah.
Who's flying it? Because that's, again, I told the stories of I used to gun some SPAD Vipers, in an F-14A. Now, how do you do that?
It's crazy.
It's all is behind the stick, and how he's managing his speed, nose position, everything that defines a dogfight. So yeah, it'd be the person. So.
Exactly. But yeah, Mark, thank you very much for coming on this live Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's been brilliant.
I enjoyed your audience. It's great. They're great. You're a great bunch, and like I said, I wish I had more time, but I got a board meeting I got to go to. But I tell you what, here, if you liked my stories, you're gonna love my brother's story. I mean, he's got some kick-ass stories, and he was in the sand during the war, so he's gonna get you some really good stories.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting Michael on the show. Like, I know he's moving at the moment, but I can't wait to get Michael on the show, and you guys will love it. Great. But Mark, thank you very much for coming on. It's been absolutely amazing, and thank you to everyone who joined in. There were some great questions, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you. See you guys. Thanks.
Cheers.